Episode 4, Creative Lens. How y'all doing? I'm Uncle Dice, aka Malume, and it's a Thursday today, right? And the sun is good in the city of Cape Town, and it's warm. Looking forward to summer. Welcome back to another exciting episode. And today's guest is multi-talented, super editor, super videographer, super creative. He has all the caps and plus photographer, but I think above all, a nice, well-rounded creative. I met this young man outside in the streets like everybody else, and it's really great to have him on the show today. We'll be talking about the work he's been up to, who he is, and just finding out what the process is. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest, episode 4, Creative Lens, is none other but than Mr. Ghilian. How you doing, brother?
I'm good and you, Unc. Thank you for having me on the show today. It's an honor.
Oh man, it's been a long time coming, right?
It has been a long time coming. I'm glad we finally made it happen.
This is probably your second interview, right?
Like third in person.
Third in person. No, yeah. It's crazy because I saw you on George's podcast, and I was like, wow, that was dope. How was that?
No, that was amazing. George is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Really amazing person as well. So yeah, that was a really, really nice podcast. I did George, and then I think a week prior I did the Spacey Pack podcast as well.
Oh wow, man!
But the George one was really smooth. It was just it was just very natural, easy flowing. It's like one of those where you don't have to plan too much for it. It just kind of comes out. So
yeah, and that's why Creative Lens is here, and just us chatting off camera, just about let this be a story today, and we just take it from there. Maybe let's start, man. Let people know who you are and what you do and where you're from.
So yeah, my name is Ghilian, multifaceted, creative director, photographer, and designer, running Illucid Studios. And yeah, originally from Plate, from a very small town, but been in Cape Town for about 6 years now.
Plate?
And
where's Plate?
Where's Plate?
Yeah, what happens in Plate, man? Like what happens there?
Not too much, eh? That's why I'm in Cape Town. No, but Plate's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like nature, the beach.
Okay. You grew up there, I take it?
Yeah, I grew up there.
So let's just go back to Plate just a bit, man. Tell us about your early days in school. How was that?
That was good. I went to boarding school.
Nice.
So I was in George for boarding school actually. So I basically grew up in George. But yeah, it was cool. It was an interesting experience. I really enjoyed it. I feel like a lot of people don't enjoy it too much, but I grew up as like as an only child, so I feel like having everyone around me was like, it was beneficial for growing up. We definitely got into a lot of situations, but
it's cool, right?
I think it helps grow you up quickly. Yeah.
Okay, and did you play sport?
Yeah, I played football. And then
I would never have thought football.
that was my dream growing up.
Really?
Yeah.
So you wanted to be a football player? Okay.
Number 10.
So then you in high school in Plate, that happens. Then how did Cape Town come about? Did you just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to Cape Town?
I think I always wanted to move to the city.
Okay.
That was always like the goal of mine, because I think finding like-minded people in a small town is not the easiest thing. Like, you obviously have all your friends that you grow up with, but no one's really doing anything creative or like pushing boundaries, to an extent. So Cape Town, or just going to a city, I think was always a goal of mine, just to like broaden the horizon.
Okay. So, I mean, being in Plate, was there any particular moment where you were like, this is what I want to do? Did you know what you wanted to do then when you're still in Plate, to say, hey, you know what, I'm moving to the city?
No, not necessarily. I took a 2-year gap year when I finished school.
Okay.
I originally wanted to do architecture.
Oh, wow.
That was a goal. But then when I was in the gap year, I was working overseas, and I kind of came to realization that it wasn't something I could be as creative as I wanted to do, because I was doing photography and art, prior to that. Like during school, I was always doing creative things. And then through there, I just realized that there's other mediums that I can be more myself and be able to portray my ideas the way that I intend to.
Okay, so you're overseas. Where were you?
I was working in China in Beijing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was that?
It was interesting. I really enjoyed it. Very different cultural experience.
Yeah.
But very beautiful though. I think a very rich photography landscape. I grew up my father also shoots photography as well.
Wow.
as like a hobby.
So what camera did you have at home? Maybe let's.
I started really basic. I think I started on a Nikon D70.
That wasn't a bad camera back then, though.
Yeah, back then. This is like maybe like 2012.
I had a D90 at some point.
Yeah, D60. Yeah, it was one of them ones. It was so yeah, kit lens. I think it also maybe had like a 18 to 140. But it's like it was documentary style. So my father, he's always been into photography though. Like used to have his own dark room.
Wow.
He's from France, so he used to have like an apartment in Lyon, and then the whole bathroom was just a dark room, and he used to develop all his films. And
wow, that was so. How was that impacting what you do now? I mean, because clearly you've been in the art in this space for a minute, and how was that?
I think it was beautiful. Like I think it was one of those things that kind of naturally happened. I didn't think about it too much until I look back on it in the future and like realize that it helped shaped a lot of like the direction that I went through. But yeah, because when I started photography, I was also I was doing documentary style like street photography.
Wow.
I think that was like a biggest thing. It was just like capturing raw and authentic moments, and we'd do traveling through like Africa and a lot of like let's say third world countries, but countries that are very culturally rich and really beautiful, and a lot of stories to tell there. And I think that just helped shape like the way in which I viewed the world. And I think viewing it through a lens and being able to capture like a specific moment in time was something that I became really like fond of, and something that like you're capturing a fleeting moment that like you had to be there in the right place in the right time to capture. So I think that helped like even shape the way that I do, even now that I'm doing bigger creative directive projects.
Yeah.
Having that like sense of not always planning things 100%, but leaving that gap where you can get those specific moments that you are unplanned, but when you're on set, you just capture those like those raw, like organic moments that I feel like sometimes are the best.
Always. I mean, that's always the case. Yeah. So at this time, 2 years you're in Beijing, and then you come back. Where did you start when you came back? Did you come back going to school, or you just came down and hit the ground running with projects? How did that unpack or unravel for you to get you into the space?
Well, I was in Beijing for a year, and then I traveled through. I made like with the money that I had made there, I went to Europe for a year, and I traveled through there. And when I was there, I did my portfolio for UCT for architecture, and I submitted it. And I think like a month later, I decided to not do it anymore. And then I applied for. I was considering either studying film or like at after. Graphic design, or I was going to go to Michaelis for fine arts. In the end, I chose graphic design just because I thought it was like, it kind of covered the most things. Like in terms of being creative nowadays, I feel like the most important thing is being able to market yourself as well as like I was going into running Illucid as a clothing brand. So I wanted to be able to, build my own websites, design the clothing, kind of cover everything that you need to like encapsulate everything. I thought that was like offered me the most from it. But I still think like anything creative, you don't necessarily have to study, because at the end of the day, it's really your portfolio that's all that matters. I think for me, it was just that I'd been away for 2 years, and to get into like a space in which I could be consistent and also like managing my time would have been tough if I just went straight into the scene. So I feel like going to university helped me to just balance time management and also hitting deadlines and getting into like the flow. But I always still did like work on the side. I think that was like the biggest thing, was that I knew that when I finished university, I don't want to work for anyone else. I wanted to like make it happen myself, and that's definitely not an easy step in Cape Town, because
no, it's not.
freelancing here is like super tough. It takes a long time to grow, and like as I said, your portfolio is the most important thing. So you can leave university and you don't have a portfolio, and now you need another
few years to develop that.
3 years to build your portfolio, so you can like get good jobs, good clients.
Wow, that's crazy. So I mean, you spoke about university. Where did you study?
At Inscape.
Inscape, how was that?
It was cool. It was interesting. It's quite like a small university, more specialized. I mean, I was there during COVID, so I only really had like 1 year of actual university, and then 2 years online.
Yeah, that's kind of like, that was the COVID. The COVID time was another.
Yeah, that was another time. So it was interesting. But I mean, I kind of enjoyed it, because those 2 years was when I like launched Illucid, and I think I did so much extra work. So the fact that I was online, I mean, lecturers won't really want to say that, but like sometimes I would like skip a lesson just to like go to my manufacturers so I can, you know,
Manufacturer.
do that, and I'll be like doing so much extra things. So like having it online like allowed me to kind of stay on track, but like not having to be confined to needing to be in a certain space.
Yeah, man. I think that was the advantage.
So I could do it more like on my own accord.
Ah, man. I mean, that's definitely great, man. And you spoke about going to see manufacturers. You have a label. And what's your fashion brand? And what's your fashion brand called?
So I run Illucid Studios. Yeah, that's my baby. We're running through, you know, everything is custom CMT, focusing on streetwear, culture, and music as well.
Wow. So just if you can tell us what it is. I mean, so what's the ethos behind it and why fashion?
So, I mean, starting where it originally began was in high school. Like, as I said, I would always be designing and drawing. And I think it was, you know, you're always limited to doing your designs on like either like canvas or paper digitally. But then my goal is to kind of have, because I love like streetwear and also like just being outside, like I wanted to showcase those designs on something that's more physical and, you know, flexible and people can wear around the city. So it's not like confined to a specific space, but just, you know, it has limited possibilities. And I did like one clothing, one drop. I didn't even post it online. It was like my first drop when I came back. And I put it in a store over December, and you know, it sold out in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
It wasn't a big run. It was, I think I must have did like 30 t-shirts or something.
Yeah.
Because it built over time. Like everything I funded myself. So it obviously like it grew gradually. Like I would create a product and then sell it, invest that money, make the new collection. It would be like, can do it then twice as big as the last collection.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't take any money from that. So that's why I have to also, I'd say that what led me to do so much other creative mediums was just trying to also fund, you know, the brand and living expenses in Cape Town.
Yeah, I mean, the city is crazy, bro. Like it's, the rents out here are crazy, dog. Like,
and also just enjoyment. Like, there's all things that I wanted to do, and I think now I'm having to cut down on everything just because you realize, like, once you start moving on to bigger projects, it's all more time consuming.
Very. Yeah.
So I'm trying to like now specify on like certain things and not do as many things, even though I still do it, but now focus on some of those other things that I do, but have them more as something like I can do for enjoyment and not something that's like, you know, you're looking at it as like a money standpoint.
You know, true, man. Because I'm also still learning that, dog. Just learning how to do less.
Yeah.
And like it's, and for us, for us entrepreneurs and for us for what we do, it also becomes, there's always this balance that we always try and have. Like, should I be working? What should I be doing? Yes or no? Should I be in it or not in it? Because you're trying to make money, and if you only do one thing, you potentially miss out on the other thing. So it's also quite like a lesson I had to learn. I mean, even starting this podcast, man, I had to kind of like reduce the photography hours. And I was like so mad. But being here at episode 4, it's just also just taught me that sometimes less is more, and to focus on the things that you really want, you got to hone in. And I read somewhere where it says, you know, sometimes you just have to kind of like fall back, but still be operating in the background.
No, for sure. And I think any new venture will take a lot of startup time. You know, like once you're running for, you know, a year or two, it becomes much more natural, and you kind of come into like the flow of how things operate. But that's like the initial thing. Whenever you start something, you're starting a new brand, you need to build everything. You're doing websites, you're doing, you know, all the foundation work. I feel like that's what takes the most time, and that's like not stuff that you going to see an immediate not reimbursement, but like you don't see the money coming.
The returns immediately. Yeah,
that's like something that comes back over time. But it's like you need those foundational steps in order to like make something really good and impactful, and something that like stands out from what other people are doing as well.
I love that. You got to have those steps. So what kind of advice would you give to young creatives in terms of, just based off that statement, then what can you say to the young people out there, or people trying to get into this? What is the anything that you'll say to them? What's the one thing that you can say to them?
I would just say that, you know, you don't really have to have the best equipment. Like, I think that's something that's, especially as you get bigger in industry, like everyone tries to have like the best of the best, and I think that's just like that was the one thing I took from university. Actually, was the one day my lecturer told me, she was like, it's not about how you execute it necessarily, but it's about your concept that you're coming up with, and that's like the most important thing. Like you can have a really amazing concept, and you don't have to have the best quality shooter, but because that tells a certain narrative or story, it can be so much more impactful than just shooting something beautifully that doesn't really have any depth to it. And I think that's one of the main things. And like growing up, my family didn't have much, so I never had the best equipment. I think like a lot of time I was either shopping like Facebook Marketplace or like thrifting for like cameras. Like I started shooting also a lot on film and like VHS, and that was just because it was things that I could find like cheap and accessible.
Yeah.
And I think using that and then trying to show like a narrative through that was way more impactful than just like starting off with the best gear, because not everyone has accessibility, especially in South Africa. Like we're so diverse. Like I think people also get hindered by what a lot of people have, because some people have everything, but a lot of us don't have a lot.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
being able to I think just work with what you have, especially nowadays you even have the phones are such good quality. Like I have one of the homies in Joburg who's doing such crazy stuff, like literally shooting on like an iPhone 11, and he's shooting music videos for like Jay Katana and
Wow.
everyone, creative shots. Like he's powering it, and that's just like
He's just using his phone.
Just using your phone. So I think you can do you can really do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
I think just starting, like, because as it goes, like when you start, you're obviously building a portfolio and building clients. So the more you do it, the more revenue and clients you're going to get. So just start with whatever gear you have and just invest in yourself. So like instead of just going out and doing all these things, I'll say just invest in equipment. Like when money comes in, put some aside for your living expenses and everything else.
Yeah,
just putting investment.
Not true, man. True. Uncle Waffles, Ramper, was I not shocked, impressed by that shoot? Tell us more about that. How did that come about, working with Uncle Waffles and Ramper? And wow, I was just like, okay, this was dope. It is dope. Tell us more about how A, that came about to be, and then B, what was your thought process? Now that, I mean, like when you get the message that you're doing this shoot, were you like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind? It's considered who you were shooting. How was that experience?
No, it was really cool. I was actually, what's happening, I was shooting Cotton Fest, because we shot it a while ago. We shot it like last year, December already.
Yeah.
It just took a while to come out, but I was shooting Cotton Fest last year. I was shooting Keed and a few other artists. And then I remember going from there, and I left at maybe probably like 11 o'clock, like at night, and we drove. There was a kind of music event happening. I think it was at the Ostrich Ranch or something.
Yeah.
So we did I drove there. I probably got like 40 minutes of the show left there. And then that's when I saw Ramp and all of them. I was like, yo, like, nah, these guys are really, doing amazing stuff. And I think like a week later, Torn was running the production for the shoot, and then he was like, yo, do you want to come shoot this, this section for Waffles and Rampa? And I was like, I think they even gave him like a 3-day notice before we did the shoot. So it was like all super, on spur of the moment.
But those are the best projects though, all those like last minute ones, kind of like not really planned. It turns out to be like, to a point earlier, sometimes when you leave room for that, it tends to happen, man.
No, definitely. And like, it was good energy. I know Lana was also there. Fahid was there as well. And then Torn was handling the video. I did stills, VHS as well.
Nice.
And it was cool. They used like the VHS for the cover of the single, and I think that was all they really used for Motsu, but everything came out. Yeah,
wow. I mean, speaking of VHS, man, I noticed you shot a lot on VHS, and your work really, really is dope. Just bring us more into your thought process and and why VHS, perhaps.
I think bringing it back into when I was speaking about, capturing that documentary style where you're capturing like raw, organic moments. I think VHS captures something that a lot of time, big digital cameras like can't capture, which is, I would say, moments, because people are a lot more free when you have, just a VHS camera in front of them. They don't feel as
intimidated by the big one.
Exactly. So I feel like you get these authentic shots, and it's almost like you can feel like you part of it, because one of their friends could be holding it or something, but you also holding it. So you have the vision to make it look dope and edits it dope, but like it just gives you this feeling of like you being right there in that moment. And I think it also ties back to, I grew up watching like a lot of, like skate videos, surf videos, and that was also like a lot shot on like fisheye VHS. And I think that like style of also just being very raw and authentic, they're just going on missions, they're just causing a bit of havoc. And I feel like I always try to bring a bit of that into the video as well, like a bit of havoc, but then also like making it stylistically nice as well, and like showcasing, the feeling of being in that space.
Wow, that's definitely dope, man. And off to that DJ leg, Heidi Boss. Tell us a bit more of that. So how do you get involved in this project? So I think you're working on all these dope projects, right? I think, are you getting this work through networking? Is the work coming in through, yes, the portfolio definitely stands out. But how is that work kind of like translating from that perspective?
It's all through recommendations.
Yeah.
So there's a really good photographer, Travis Owen, from SA, but based in LA. And I think he was doing a lot of DJ Lag's previous campaigns and work.
Okay.
And then, like, we've been following each other, but we didn't even really speak online. But he put me through to Black Major, who's obviously managing Lag, and then recommend me through there. So then I flew up, and that was also like a last minute thing. I think we had the meeting. I had a meeting with Itamar on a Friday, and then that Monday I was like, just the first meeting to like speak about even doing it was on the Friday, and then by Monday I was on a flight to Josie, and I didn't even have like the full. I didn't even have the full treatment done. I was on the plane, like working the treatment, like finalizing it, booking like the studio, and it was also my first time really going to Josie, like for a period of time. So I wasn't even like, I don't have everything set up that side that I have here. Like I have a lot of friends and homies outside, like Ralph and like Chanel, Channel Red, and a lot of homies that like help me to put things together, like get in contact with the studio spaces.
Okay.
And make it all happen. But yeah, we pulled it together, and it was really beautiful. Like it was supposed to just be the album cover, and then it just ended up to be the whole campaign rollout. So we shot like the visualizer for Hade Boss with Mapuriza, and then we did the stills, and those got published in like magazines and things. And we also did like, I think, another visualizer. I did merch for him as well. It was just like it ended up being like a 3 months
piece of work project, basically.
3 months project. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I like the DJ leg with the green. Is that a balaclava? That's dope. It's somewhere on the link here. You check it out. So what was you thinking behind that?
So that was like, it was part of like within the treatments that I was running for. Like I wanted to have something that was, it was a bit more mysterious, but it was something that it wasn't fully planned. It was something that also happened pretty organically. I was at like one of the stylist places picking up pieces, and then I saw this piece and I was like, yo, this will go so crazy. And then it ended up being like the showstopper, that was like the main thing. And then they ended up making, I think, also like 30 or more of those. Then they ended up like doing like whole dance routines, and like that kind of became like the symbol of the whole campaign.
Wow,
so
man.
One of those things that also just like, it happened organically, and it was just like one of those, creative decisions that, it just worked out in the end. Wow,
that's crazy. Let's go back to treatment. What's your research process like for that?
I mean, pretty in depth. Like it obviously depends on what who the client is or who the artist is. I always try to have, I try to have an in-person meeting with whoever I'm shooting with before, just because I want to have a full understanding of like either themselves or the brand in its whole, so I can understand what their creative vision and who they are. And then I try and merge, my world, because they obviously come to me for what I do. And I think that was like, whereas my biggest goal is like having people approach me for my work in particular, rather than like just looking for a photographer that they can just get. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's kind of what differentiates things. So I then merge it together, and like I try and make a world in which whatever the soundtrack is, I'll listen to that a lot, and then delve into that and try and make I try to make a world around each thing that I produce. So you can be doing research from either like old films. I mean, I'm inspired by a lot of 90s. The big inspiration,
90s.
the hip hop. Oh,
Tell me, okay, let's go back to hip hop and
Fashion.
90s. What you listening to? Tell me some artists that you enjoying from the 90s.
I mean, like the classics, like Biggie, Pac,
You really look like a Wu-Tang. You look like
Wu-Tang.
I took you as a Wu-Tang fan. I don't know why.
Wu-Tang for sure. Wu-Tang for sure. A Tribe Called Quest as well.
Yeah, Quest is good.
Yeah, I mean the whole like East Coast, West Coast movement. That side was like a lot of really cool things came.
What you listen to right now?
Right now, I have such a versatile genre. In SA though, I'll say like Brother Cooper is like on my top tier at the moment. Baby Lowski, I mean Internet Girl for sure. Jay Katana also been doing the most, and I be listening to such a diverse I mean I know he's dropping his project now like on Friday, so that's tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. It'll be out by the time this podcast comes out, so that's
what's the artist dropping on Friday?
Yeet.
YEAT.
Yeah.
That guy. Yeah. I know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Him Yachty also been doing some crazy stuff. BK the Ruler is also super hard. There's such a I can pull up my thing, but there's so much.
I mean, you spoke of Internet Girl, man. Let's just jump. Let's just focus on that a bit, man. And you do a lot of work for Internet Girl. How did the whole relationship start with Internet Girl? Maybe just take us from the beginning, man, because there's a lot of work you've done, amazing work. How did that? If you can just run us through a story in terms of how you met and how the work started to translate to what it is today. Because looking at the work, I definitely see the chemistry amongst you guys. B, and I've also been blessed to hang out with you guys. I think it was a solo show. You guys are really, really a squad deep. So how did that kind of unfold with Internet Girl?
Obviously, this was not an intentional occurrence, but we can run it. It had happened very naturally. Actually, I first got in. I was chatting to James online, the guitarist, and we were just chatting on Instagram, and he wanted me to customize his guitar. I think it was in 2021 around then.
Wow.
That's when they just moved to Cape Town. I was like,
customize his guitar.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it still hasn't happened to this day. It still hasn't happened to this day. And it's still something that's going to happen. But we wanted to do it, and we met up at YT. And then all the boys actually ended up coming through, and I think we started chatting design, but by the end of the thing, everyone was just, speaking. I think we didn't get that much done on the concept, but we were just chatting and ended up getting kicked out of YT that night. But I think it also just helped bond us together.
for all those who don't know, YT is yours truly. On Kloof, shout out to yours truly, man.
But 2021 was also it was during that COVID period, so there wasn't too much open, and YT was really popping in that time. So I was the place to go to. But from then, it just kind of, we naturally just, connected. I'll be at their house every other week.
Oh, wow.
And they were staying in, they're by District 6 area. And we'd just be there the whole time. And we'll be doing a lot of shoots. We were doing shoots for Illucid. Obviously it was much smaller scale things because we were we're not where we are now. And that relationship's obviously just
developed over time.
And those are, some of my best friends at the moment. So
wow.
It's just beautiful to see their progress. And then obviously having other friends let's say Royd, and there's a lot of people that's also within the same place have just been growing together, so much. And then because everyone's just aligned and mentally in the same place, can create just, beautiful work together and go further that. So we've done up to this point, I don't know how many projects we actually done, but
quite a bit, eh?
Yeah, most recently the McLaren project.
Oh wow, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Pull Up is probably the best video out in forever. So shout out to you guys, shout out to the team, to everyone who worked on it. But just tell us a little bit more of that process for the Pull Up video with Doughboy. Just break it down for us, because that's hard, man. That's crazy hard.
Yeah, no, that was, in my opinion, I think one of the hardest videos coming out of SA for sure. But yeah, that's Roy was mastermind behind like pulling the whole visual world together. I think we had like a lot of nights like he would come to my place and then he would be like showing me like the whole process, like the direction we want to go through. And it was like, yo, I want you to jump on for stills for this project.
Yeah, let's go back to the steals, man. Those pictures are hard, dog. Like, yo, I was just like, yo, man, that's some witchcraft over there, man. I was like, yo, fam. Firstly, man, congrats, and you really nailed and man killed it. There is the dope boy with the light picture where he's standing behind the light, and there's also the one with the grills. I mean, all of them are just hard, man. Just run us through that, because I know everything was happening, because it was a vibe, but just run us through your process for those. What are we trying to bring out? And just look at how everyone's reacting to the work. It's really translating. It's really hard. Just take us through that process.
I think like the goal was just to capture, like different moments, and with like the lighting setup that the team and everyone had set up, like it was just created such a beautiful space for people to use like contrast and negative space within that. So yeah, I wanted to create like the world in which you're having all these separate scenes, and because we're shooting in just like this studio location where everything is like almost the same, but it's like how can you differentiate the segments to like have a whole different like feelings and also like context between everything. But yeah, I think one of my favorite was definitely the one with the spotlight and the gun that was standing behind him, and that was
dope.
That was all just naturally, like that was like set design. Yeah, it was crazy.
No, it's
like,
crazy. But so this is what, again, with Creative Lens, I love what you just said now when you said the set design, So meaning somebody did that right at the back. There was
the whole
wardrobe.
team pulling everything
That's
together.
it.
Yeah.
And when everything really connects, it really translates, dog. And just seeing the work, I was just like really blown. I really want to get everybody who worked on that on the show too, man. Just FYI. And how you feeling about that, man? In terms of, I know like sometimes as creatives, especially what we do, we get the work done, we're on to the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. So you really don't have the moment to really bask in the glory of the work. Is like it's 5 minutes and you're on to the next. And with that work that you've put out, has it really rewired your vision in a way? How has that impacted you as a creative to say, having done something like that, are you looking not really recreating the moment, but way too higher from there?
I mean, I think it's like, as I said, my goal is always to create worlds in which you're documenting something. So obviously that was like, such a beautiful showcase. And I think like taking things to, as high as a level as things can go, but there's also like always higher you can go as well. And I think also like that was its own world that was created. And I think then, making a new world for something different. So it's like, you're not really competing the works with each other.
Yeah.
They're all living individually for like their own intentions and purposes that they needed to live in. So I think creating just, more conceptually, in-depth pieces. And yeah, there's some exciting things also on the works now that
nice.
We actually have planned.
Oh man, that's amazing. How was the Daisies?
Yo, Daisies was good. It was tiring, but it was it was good.
Wow, and the work, man. Let's just jump straight into it, man. Shout out to the work you put out with Galaxy Boy. That was amazing. Just I had a chance to check that out. Let's just talk about Daisies, Galaxy Boy, and the work that you were doing there for now before we jump into the other parts of Daisies. How was that process in terms of, did you mood board it, or you just kind of went with the vibe being there?
It was a mixture of both. I mean, I had to mood board it because I was running like a 5-man team there.
Wow.
And we were doing live edits, like live video edits every day, and still edits. So, I mean, the stills I usually keep pretty organic because I just trust myself behind the camera, and I know that for that, like, I can handle it. But then handling the video, I have an editor and a DOP shooting for me. So for that, we had like we had a treatment in things that I wanted to capture, like certain kind of transitions and shot choices, but then I also left a lot of freedom there to capture that moment. And as I was saying, like those rawness that you can't really plan for, especially at an event, like you don't really know what to expect 100%. So it kind of just like choosing your key, like starting, I say a middle and an end, and then the in between is stuff that, you know, you organically push together.
Wow.
But it was beautiful. It was like it was my third Daisy's going to, and you know, like I was just looking back and like seeing that transition, because my first Daisy's I was just attending as like, you know, one of the festival goers, and I had my film camera with me, and then I managed to like sneak backstage and like shoot some of the artists there. Like our shots, was it
one of the Dreamville artists?
Yeah, I mean Baz was there, but I wouldn't say he was the main one. But yeah, there was a couple of me, but it was just really really dope. Like, and it was just like one of those things where like one of the other photographers that I knew there like got me back there, and then from there merging to like last year, Torn brought me on to shoot for the after movie.
Okay.
So, you know, that was like, then I was joining a team, and then this year like having my own team there. So like just the natural transgression was just like, it's like a beautiful thing to see.
Oh wow, man. And let's just talk more about the other work that you're involved in at the Daisies, stage design. Tell us more about that and who the design you did it for. Just tell us a bit more. Yeah.
And now for that, it wasn't particularly the stage design. I was more saying like as the whole there, it was like because for Lag, it was like the creative direction for that campaign, like coming together. So it was like seeing that, you know, that whole world come together in like a space where people are enjoying it and like actually listen to those music that we had been like working on the visual concept for like the whole time. So seeing like everyone there together, like
such a 360 moment.
Because that was the first time I saw his performance live since the album came out, because he's been doing like the Europe tour,
exactly,
American tour, Asia tour, everything. So yeah, just like seeing a project that you had like been working on coming to fruition and like seeing people enjoy it live is just that was, for me, was just a beautiful.
Wow, man. I mean that's crazy, dog. And what's your from is it DAW? Is that the right word to use? Or from a tool perspective, just run us through your process when it comes to whether it's editing, what are your go-to tools for that? Whether it's the software, the camera, just kind of like run us through that, your process.
I mean, depending on like what project I'm working on, like obviously photography, I'll run it through Lightroom first. Like that'll be my main thing. And for a lot of the stuff, like it just kind of stays just within Lightroom for the photography. There's certain things I might bring into Photoshop just to, for specific things, like depending if I'm working like on art covers and things like that, then I'll go through Photoshop to do, you know, extra steps, and like there's certain things that you just can't do in Lightroom that you can do there.
Yeah,
so
for
I
sure.
think running between those two, Premiere Pro for video, After Effects, that'll probably be like my go-to for, and then InDesign for all my treatments and everything like that.
A lot of people have been telling me about Blender, man. Have you been messing with that?
I tried to start, to be honest. It's one of those things where I find it really fascinating, and I want to get into it. It was just like time constraints to like learn something new. Right
now. Exactly.
So it's been a process. Like, I try to start learning it, and then I probably will have to like relearn it again if I go back into it. But it's something that definitely interests me. I've been like speaking to a lot of artists that work through Blender, and we're also like planning to do some other things. But there's just so many like really talented artists that run it. But also I feel like an untapped market in SA.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, definitely, especially when it comes to fashion, rendering of product. I've seen some dope work and I was like, wow, that's what this thing can do. Oh wow. And if you have to have one piece of gear and camera, what's your camera of choice?
It was my camera of choice. I mean, it's tough because like at the moment I'm shooting on a Fuji, which is like a majority like stills dominant camera. So for stills, I think like I love the Fuji, like in terms of color and the way it shoots, and also like the lens that I have. So I might probably just upgrade to the newer version, you know, like the X-T5 or something like that. But then within like a video camera, like an FX6 or something like that would be
yeah.
I mean, obviously you can go high end like an Arri or like a Red or something like that, you know, but that'll be on a different level.
Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of the goal for sure.
So then would you say when it comes to the work that you're doing, what kind of work do you really enjoy working on? I mean, not everything is beautiful. are you like more big on the music video side or on an advert side? How, when it comes to work, what's kind of like the stuff that you really, really enjoy?
I think like personally enjoyments, music videos you can have the most creative freedom with because I mean the styling like directly relates to like I do also a lot of styling for music videos as well, especially running the brand. And you're free to create a whole world based on around that either album or single. And I think that will always be like my favorite. I feel like that's also why I always try incorporate into music, just because you have so much more freedom than, you know, running commercial work through an advertisement.
Yeah, exactly that.
But yeah, I mean, it kind of depends because it's like you can still create really, really cool work with that. It'll be more, usually a bit more cleaner. But the kind of challenges, that's like usually where the money is. And it's quite hard to get funding for artists in SA. Like unless you have international label that you know funding your work, it's like there's not really the most money in there. So I think now working with like artists that actually have good budget is like a blessing. But for a long time, you're just kind of shooting like I was just documenting, you know, you're shooting culture. Like that was like the beginning of my stage in Cape Town. I was just shooting artists. Like you're not necessarily getting paid for it. But I was just enjoying it and like being around the artists and like being able to showcase everything. But now, you know, once you also have a certain level that you want to achieve, and you kind of, as you were saying, like either top it or like be at that level, it obviously requires a certain something to happen, you know. So kind of balancing between those two of being able to create what you want, and then also, but you always also have to be like lenient with, you know, just making things happen with what you have.
Yeah, man.
Disposable. And I think that's something that South Africa's also like really talented at, is like just making things happen. You know, like people like find ways to do these crazy things like without having a big budget. Like you can do so much without having a budget. But it's just like you just have to be able to change your train of thought and like be able to, you know, think of something new, because it's like a lot of times things that haven't necessarily been done before, but you have to like think on how you can do that in order to make it happen.
Wow, that and that's important, man.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
If you have to give some advice to upcoming creatives, what are some of the steps that have worked for you that you can definitely share with people out there today?
I think like mix between things that I'm also still trying to figure out, but I'd say manage your time. Don't be scared to put yourself out there. You know, I feel like a lot of people are worried about criticism, especially on social media nowadays. But the best thing is just to be like raw and also, you know, organic with what you're doing. Don't try to copy what other people are doing, but, you know, do what you believe yourself will be great and what you want to push. Like, I think that's the most important part. And that's also why you don't always have to do these bigger jobs, because when you're also doing work that's not necessarily like you have a bigger budget for, you can also push your own ideas and narratives more, because now you want to make this work for you. Like you're not only, because if you're just working for the artist or person, like then you're not really benefiting from it. But if you can make that happen, but then also make it for yourself, then I think that's like the way to push forward, and like also just create something that you can create a realm in which people can see and then come approach you for that similar work that you're doing.
Wow, man. I mean, that's definitely great. And with your fashion, what's the future for you as a fashion designer? Any new drop coming about anytime soon?
Yeah, there's a new drop coming. I've had the streets have been asking me. It's been a bit of an issue. But no, I've done all my sampling. I'm like in the process of manufacturing. I won't give a date yet, but we have a really cool drop that's on the way.
Do you know what one word I learned from the fashion space? You know, just working with the local brand Refuse was strike-offs.
Strike-offs.
Yeah, I was like, everything needs a strike-off before it goes into production. So are you a strike-off stage?
Yeah, I've done. That's already completed.
Wow, that's actually crazy, man. And maybe to like in parting, man, just tell us your top 3 movies you're watching.
My top 3 movies.
Yeah. Or 5, 6, whichever number is, or what you're really enjoying watching right now. Or what you're watching actually. What you're watching right now.
At the moment, I won't lie, like I've been watching more anime than I love movies. The movies will always be like near and dear to me. Like I grew up watching like a movie fanatic, but at the moment I've been watching a lot of anime.
Wow.
So I've been watching I'll say what to your top 3 is too hard. I'll say what at the moment I just finished Jujutsu Kaisen. Now it's amazing. The other ones that I'm watching, like I feel like I'm not sure. They're kind of interesting right now. So,
So it's going to figure it out.
yeah, like I'm watching this one called like the reincarnation of as like a slime. It's like it's a weird one, but it's good though. Hell's Paradise really good, and then like
Nice.
Yes No, it's also amazing. Yeah, there's so much. There's a whole world you can like grab it whole into.
No, awesome, man. And before we strike off and go off, what would you like to tell the world about what's coming up next, and just your word to the world, I guess.
Yeah, I would say stay on the lookout. Like I won't say too much because I don't believe in like, speaking about what you're going to do in the future before you've done it. So I feel
Do
like
it first, yeah.
I'd rather do it first and show you, but just know that there's a lot of really exciting projects coming up in the near future. So stay on the lookout.
Oh man, that's great, man. And wow, that's been amazing. How you feeling about the podcast so far?
I've loved it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor coming through here. And as also just chatting to you, I mean, it's always just feels so natural, you know what I mean? So it's been great.
Nah, man, that's good, man. And that's for us, everybody. Episode 4. With Ghilian here has been amazing. It's been great. And again, the platform is really built for us creatives to just unpack the work that we do within the city. But above all, this platform, this community is worldwide, but it's coming through from the city of Cape Town. And we're really trying to share our stories from the city. If you come visit us, we need you on the show. If you're a creative from anywhere else, do come visit us and let's have a word and let's see what you're all about in the city. But until then, thank you very much. This is episode 4. We out. Peace.